Hey everyone, so today we're going to talk about a single word, one you've probably used 1,000 times, complex. It's a word we use for all sorts of tangled up, tricky things. But the story behind it is surprisingly simple.
But here's the really weird part, the thing that kicked this whole explainer off. What if I told you that this very word, which literally means complicated, is officially one of the most basic words in the entire English language? I know, it sounds crazy, right? How could that possibly be true?
I mean, just look at this for a second. In one corner, you've got complex, complicated, lots of moving parts, tough to get your head around. And in the other corner, basic, simple, fundamental, the building blocks. They feel like total opposites. So what is going on here?
Okay, so let's dig in. First, let's just make the case for the obvious. Let's really establish just how, complex the word complex actually is.
First up, we've got the adjective, which is how we use it most of the time, right? The Simple English Wiktionary says it means having lots of parts or pieces, difficult to understand. No surprises there. The synonym is complicated, and the antonym is simple. So far, so good. Everything seems perfectly normal.
But the word isn't just an adjective, and when we start looking at its other meanings, that's when things start to get really tangled.
So as a noun, complex can be a group of buildings, like an apartment complex. Or it can be a psychological thing, like having a complex about something. For weather forecasters, it's a type of thunderstorm system. And for chemists, it's a very specific kind of molecular structure. I mean, think about it. Those meanings have practically nothing to do with each other.
So the word itself is this complex jumble of totally unrelated ideas. Which brings us right back to our big mystery. With all these different meanings and a main definition that is literally difficult to understand, how in the world did it land on a list of basic words?
And here it is. This is the clue. It's this one little line from its Wiktionary page. Complex is on the Basic English 850 list. Now, this isn't just some random list. It's a very, very specific one.
850. That's it. That is the total number of words in a system called Basic English. This was a project back in the 1930s to create a super efficient but still powerful version of English that anyone in the world could learn. The goal was to pick just 850 core words that could express almost any idea, and complex is one of them.
So, to solve this puzzle, we have to get inside the minds of the people who made this list. We need to understand the philosophy behind it. Why pick a word like complex for a system that's supposed to be simple? And here is the absolute key to the whole thing. Basic English was never about picking the easiest words, not at all. It was about finding the most useful words, the words that could do the most heavy lifting.
And that's why complex made the cut. Because there's no simpler, more direct word to describe that really fundamental idea of something having a bunch of interconnected parts. In fact, if you tried to explain that concept without using the word complex, it would actually be way more, complicated.
So think of it like this. The creators of Basic English first identified a core idea we all need to talk about, the state of having many parts. Then they looked for the single best tool for that job, and that tool was the word complex. It turns out having one single powerful word actually makes the whole language simpler. So let's wrap this up. The word complex has a ton of different meanings, and yet it's one of only 850 words in Basic English. And the reason is that Basic English is all about usefulness, not easiness. And it teaches us this really cool lesson. Sometimes the best way to make communication simple is to have a single, precise, powerful word.
So, the story of complex really isn't so complicated after all. It's a story about finding the absolute best tool for the job. And that leaves me with one last question for you to chew on. What other really complex ideas out there do you think deserve their own single, powerful, and maybe even basic word? Thanks for watching.